afternoon, keluarga Malaysia. Coming to you live from Angkasa Puri, I'm Renee Fong, and this is Updates at Noon. Making the headlines today, 62 spots in Klang at risk of flooding. King Charles, a sibling, holds silent vigil to Queen Elizabeth. Sixty-two localities in the Klang district in Selangor are at risk of flooding due to the phenomenon of high tide and the northeast monsoon that is occurring from now until December. Klang District Disaster Management Committee JPBD Chairman Shahman Jalaluddin said more than 10,000 residents in Kampung Teluk Gong, Sungai Serdang, Kampung Tok Muda and Pulau Indah will be affected by the situation. Shahman said that based on the Malaysian Meteorological Department's weather forecast for the period September 2022 to February 2023, Selangor is expected to experience a shift from the southwest monsoon to the northeast monsoon.
Peralihan monsun ini dijangka akan membawa kepada peningkatan jumlah tiriman hujan dan berisiko terjadinya bencana banjir. Berdasarkan ramalan, negeri Selangor dijangka akan menerima taburan hujan di antara 100 hingga 400 mm secara purata mulai pertengahan September ini. Pada tempoh yang sama, fenomena air pasang besar juga dijangka berlaku di kawasan pesisir laut sepanjang Pelabuhan Klang, Selangor. Berdasarkan ramalan yang dikeluarkan oleh Pusat Hidrografi Nasional Pulau Indah Klang, paras air laut yang tertinggi dijangka mencapai paras 5.5 meter.
He said both phenomena could cause seawater to overflow into the settlement areas, posing the risk of a flood disaster in the particular areas. Shahman urged those living near or at risk of flood areas to always keep an eye on the situation and the weather and to comply with the instructions from the authorities, especially if they are asked to evacuate. In a related development, Federal Territories Minister Datuk Sri Shahidan Kasim said his ministry is currently preparing for the possibility of floods in Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Labuan.
Ini adalah persediaan biasa dan saya mewakili wilayah. Kita telah buat persediaan di pangkat DBKL, Putrajaya dan juga Labuan. Kita menyelenggarakan tempat perpindahan dan juga ada cadangan untuk menyediakan makanan dalam bungkusan. Tapi kami di sini kita akan, kerana tempat kita dekat dengan semua kemudahan. Kalau kawasan satu banjir, kawasan lain tak banjir. Jadi tidak masalah untuk suplai makanan kepada mangsa-mangsa banjir. Kita boleh menempatkan sampai 24,000 orang macam tu untuk pusat-pusat perpindahan yang telah kita sediakan. Jadi insya-Allah tidak ada masalah.
He added that the construction of wall to prevent water overflow from Sungai Klang is still not completed and sandbags were used as a temporary measure. The status of vaccines being developed under the National Vaccine Development Roadmap (PPVN) is now at the stage of preclinical trials on animals. Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Adham Baba said the ministry was prepared to ensure that good manufacturing practice (GMP) was observed in the development of vaccines in the country by implementing the required regulations and conventions.
Kita mengambil maklum bahawa dua kaedah dapat digunakan, satu melalui teknologi transfer daripada teknologi luar negara, yang kedua bangunkan platform itu sendirilah. Platform yang kita bangunkan ialah melalui platform virus inactivated ataupun kedua adenovector, dan pakar-pakar kita di peringkat universiti, di peringkat institusi seperti IMR membangunkan juga teknologi mRNA lah.
PPVN was launched in November last year in an effort to make the country a hub for vaccine producers and to increase confidence in the use of vaccines. The implementation of PPVN will not only focus on the COVID-19 vaccine, but also vaccines for other diseases like head and neck cancer vaccine by the Cancer Research Centre. 3 projects are slated for implementation through PPVN, including a project for producing 2 types of COVID-19 vaccine using inactivated virus and messenger ribonucleic acid mRNA developed by the Institute for Medical Research IMR. Hospital Sultanah Malaya in Langkawi, Kedah will be a major specialist hospital after its additional building construction project with an allocation of 515.35 million ringgit is completed by July 2025. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the hospital would be equipped with 330 beds and the number of staff increased to 1,903 from 557. He said 6 operation theatres, a multi-storey car park, staff quarters comprising 40 units, medical and non-medical equipment, and information and communication technology would be among the facilities to be provided at the new wing.
Pelancong kalau dia datang ke hospital kerajaan bukan kadar subsidi bukan free dia kena bayar. Dia full paying. Jadi kalau full paying mestilah kita sediakan sesuatu yang bertaraf antarabangsa. Takkanlah kita nak hantar kepada hospital yang biasa saja. Sebab itu konsep hospital bangunan tambahan Sultanah Malaya ni adalah lebih kepada konsep yang bertaraf antarabangsa. Design dia pun nampak macam private hospital ya, sebab tu kos dia tinggi sikit tapi tak apa sebab memang unik kepada Langkawi ya. Kita nak supaya bila turis datang ke sini dia tahu pergi hospital kerajaan pun wow macam hospital swasta.
Khairi also said that the Health Ministry will build a health clinic in Pulau Tuba next year, aside from approving the purchase of sea ambulance to improve health facilities of the island. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has instructed the Health Ministry MOH to give the best treatment to former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak following reports on his health condition. In a post on his official Twitter, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also prayed for Datuk Seri Najib's recovery. Earlier, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said in a statement that Datuk Seri Najib was admitted to Hospital Kuala Lumpur last Friday as an elective and not emergency case to ensure his health was at a good and optimum level. He said Datuk Seri Najib was certified healthy before he was discharged from the hospital, and the types of medicines prescribed for Datuk Seri Najib during his admission were the same as those he used and were on the MOH list of medicines. Datuk Seri Najib's trial at the High Court yesterday on charges of misappropriating 2.3 billion ringgit in 1MDB funds was cut short after it was informed that the former Prime Minister needed medical attention.
Why do we tell you stories?
Relevant,
New,
efficient,
accurate.
reliable. We bring you extraordinary stories from around the world, from politicians, bankers, and even your favorite celebrities. This and many more on RTM's English News.
Uncrewed Blue Origin rocket crashes. That and more coming up in the foreign segment. King Charles III led his 3 siblings during a somber procession of Queen Elizabeth II's body through Edinburgh before the public got their first chance to file past the late monarch's coffin. Crowds of people packing the Scottish capital's iconic Royal Mile watched in near silence as the new monarch walked slowly behind the hearsay bearing their mother's oak casket. The late Queen was taken from the royal residence of the Palace of Holyrood House, where she had rested overnight, to the 12th century St. Giles Cathedral for a prayer service. The doors of the cathedral were then opened to tens of thousands of well-wishers waiting to bid their own final farewell to the monarch known as Queen of Scots. The king and his brothers and sister also returned for a ceremony known as the Vigil of the Princes, in which they stood at the four corners of the casket. Mourners, some weeping and others with heads bowed or courtesying, walked slowly past the coffin after having waited patiently for hours to be allowed into the cathedral. In a packed timetable for the new monarch, Charles went to the devolved Scottish Assembly after the service to hear a motion of condolence. He called Parliament the living and breathing instrument of democracy and pledged to follow his late mother's example in maintaining its independence. New Zealand will not actively take any measures to become a republic in the short term after the death of Queen Elizabeth. Its Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, said she never sensed the urgency to become a republic nation, though she expects the Pacific country will eventually become one.
There's been a debate probably for a number of years. It's just the pace and how widely that debate is occurring. I've made my view plain many times. I do believe that is where New Zealand will head in time. I believe it's likely to occur in my lifetime, but I don't see it as a short-term measure or anything that is on the agenda anytime soon.
New Zealand is one of 15 realms to count the British monarch as head of state, including Australia and Canada, although the role is largely ceremonial. But there has been debate for some time on whether the Pacific nation should become a republic with a citizen as the head of state. New Zealand will mark the passing of Queen Elizabeth with a state memorial service and a one-off public holiday on 26 September.
Pay respects on behalf.
A rocket crashed back to Earth shortly after liftoff Monday in the first launch accident for Jeff Bezos' space travel company. But the capsule carrying experiments managed to parachute to safety. No one was aboard the Blue Origin flight, which used the same kind of rocket as the one that sends paying customers to the edge of space. According to the United States Federal Aviation Administration, the rockets are now grounded pending the outcome of an investigation. The New Shepard rocket was barely a minute into its flight from West Texas when bright yellow flames shot out from around the single engine at the bottom. The capsule's emergency launch abort system immediately kicked in, lifting the craft off the top, and several minutes later, the capsule parachuted onto the remote desert floor. The capsule landed safely and the booster impacted within the designated hazard area with no injuries or public property damage reported. The incident marks a setback for both Blue Origin and the nascent space tourism industry. Blue Origin began flying humans to space on 10-minute rides last year for an unspecified ticket price. In all, it has flown 32 people, some paying customers and other guests. Growing wildfires in Canada's westernmost province, British Columbia, BC, prompted air quality warnings and evacuation orders on Monday. There are 193 active wildfires currently burning in BC, including the Flood Falls fire in the south of the province and Battleship Mountain blaze in the northeast, forcing around 1,000 people to leave their homes. In Vancouver, Environment Canada extended an air quality warning because of high concentrations of fine particulate matter caused by wildfire smoke, some of which was being blown north from the United States. Trans Mountain Corps, owned by the Canadian government, said its 350-person Omahill camp in Laidlaw, southern BC, was safely evacuated. There has been no impact on operations of the existing 300,000 barrel per day Trans Mountain pipeline, which ships crude from Alberta's oil sands to the BC coast. Senegal security forces were called to secure a voting process in parliament and hold back rowdy opposition members of parliament MP who tried to disrupt the election of a new president of the National Assembly. The assembly was convening for the first time since July election in which President Macky Sall's ruling coalition lost its comfortable majority, securing just 2 more seats more than 2 allied opposition coalitions. The new parliamentary session convened at 10 a.m. local time yesterday with the first order of business to elect the House's new leader. However, parties failed to reach an agreement on electoral procedure. Heated arguments ensued but all day, and by late evening tensions boiled. Senegal's national television RTS showed scuffles breaking, parliamentarians pushing and shoving one another as they crowded the floor of the assembly, while some threw plastic bottles. It was reported that the opposition did not agree on the ballots and the manner of proceedings with the election. The police were later called in to secure the voting process and had to forcefully remove several lawmakers who tried to seize the ballot box. Political tension has been on the rise in the West African nation, seen as one of the region's most stable democracies. At least 15 people were killed over the last 2 days in Colombia in a spate of violent incidents, highlighting the huge task facing President Gustavo Petro. In the northern city of Barranquilla, 6 people were shot dead by gunmen on Monday morning while drinking in a bar. Police said the powerful Gulf Clan drug trafficking gang carried out the attack on members of the rival Los Costeños group. In the north-central Santander department, a teacher, his wife and 2 children were killed by a group of assailants on Sunday morning. 5 Venezuelan migrants accused of being involved in the murders were then lynched by vigilantes in an apparent act of revenge. Following the attack, an injured employee of the murdered family alerted neighbors who took justice into their own hands and killed the 5 attackers. On Saturday night, a union leader was shot dead by 2 armed motorcyclists in the northeastern port city of Barranquilla. According to the independent NGO, it was the 126th murder of a union leader since the state signed a 2016 peace deal with Marxist Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia guerrillas. Petro, Colombia's first left-wing president, vowed following his June election victory to bring about total peace in the conflict-ravaged country. Colombia has suffered 6 decades of conflict involving leftist guerrillas, drug traffickers, right-wing paramilitaries, and state forces.
Individuals are at risk of experiencing mental health problems, including depression. You and I included, especially if we are living in a stressful environment away from family members. But remember, if depression is not properly treated, it may lead to further harm, including suicide attempts. We can change it. In sports, Kim Pan-gun to retain most players for Thai Kings Cup competition. Stay with us. Young national racer Sharifuddin Azman has set himself a target of finishing on the podium in the Malaysia MotoGP from 21st to 23rd October at the Sepang International Circuit. However, Sharifuddin, or fondly known as Damok, was quick to admit that rain could play havoc with his plan. The 21-year-old has received a wildcard ticket to race with Vision Track Racing Team in the Malaysia MotoGP. However, if things go according to plan and the weather holds, he is confident he can do great things thanks to his familiarity with the SIC track.
Malaysian GP ni saya akan menggunakan genre saya yang saya berlumba di Junior GP. So semua sama. So saya bawa semua tim saya daripada Europe datang ke Malaysia. Itu dah jadi macam family saya sendiri. So saya memang happy dengan dorang. So memang sangat serasi dengan dorang. So saya yakin dengan dorang, saya yakin dengan diri saya yang saya boleh buat.
Damok is now third out of 27 riders in the Junior GP with 107 points, and who will be featuring in the Moto3 category of the MotoGP for the 5th time, all via wildcard entries. In another development, SIC Chief Executive Officer Azhan Shafriman Hanif said almost 50% of the tickets for the Malaysia MotoGP have been sold.
Kita tengok daripada Indonesia, sasaran kita lebih kurang dalam 8,000 peminat daripada Indonesia kita jangkakan untuk hadir di Lintas Sepang pada bulan Oktober ni. Stiker ini lebih kurang dalam 4,000 ke 5,000 penonton yang telah beli tiket.
Azhan Shafriman is confident that the SIC will be able to achieve its target of 170,000 spectators based on its commitment and vast experience as the main organizer of the championships. Harimau Malaya head coach Kim Pangon is retaining 17 of the players who enabled Malaysia to qualify for the Asia Cup 2023 in facing the Thailand Kings Cup competition from 22nd to 25th September in Chiang Mai. Among the new players called for the competition are age 21 from the under-23 national squad, namely goalkeeper Rahadiazli Rahalim, Azmi Murad and Mukairi Ajmal Mahadi. The 53-year-old coach has also included Kalamullah Al-Hafiz Madrowi, goalkeeper, Sharul Nazim Zulpakar, Brendan Gunn, Zafri Yahya and Declan Lambert, while 16 have been listed in the waiting list if any of the selected players could not play for some reasons or were injured. The Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, in a statement said the Harimau Malaya squad would undergo central training from 16th to 19th September at the Wisma FAM field before leaving for Chiang Mai for the competition. In the four-cornered competition, Malaysia had been voted to face Thailand on 22nd September, while Trinidad and Tobago will meet Tajikistan. The winners in the two matches will meet in the final on 25th September, while the defeated teams will vie for third placing. Malaysia had lifted the cup 4 times in 1972, 76, 77 and 78. Tammy Abraham struck the decisive goal in Roma's 2-1 win at Empoli early today, which put them a point behind a trio of sides leading the way in Italian's Serie A. Roma are 5th but just behind Napoli, Atalanta and AC Milan after Abraham forced home Paulo Dybala's cross from close range in the 71st minute. The impressive Dybala had opened the scoring for the away side in the 17th minute with a beautifully guided shot after having already hit the post. Jose Mourinho's side were looking at another poor result 2 minutes before the break when Filippo Bandinelli reacted brilliantly to bad Roma defending by guiding home a header from Petar Stojanovic's cross. But Abraham's second goal of the season was just enough to seal the 3 points, with Lorenzo Pellegrini also smacking a penalty off the bar with 10 minutes remaining. Barcelona coach Xavi Hernandez laughed off the notion that playing at Bayern Munich is like visiting the House of Horrors ahead of tomorrow's mouth-watering Champions League Group C clash. They met in last season's group stage with the Germans twice winning 3-0, although Barca are now a very different side as spearheaded by striker Robert Lewandowski, who moved to the new camp from the Bavarians in the close season. Barcelona have never won at Bayern, who have triumphed in the last 4 meetings between the clubs with an overall score of 17-4, including an 8-2 thrashing in the 2020 quarterfinals. While Xavi acknowledged the task in front of Barca is daunting, he said his side should have no fear going to Munich.
No ho diria així, evidentment doncs és el Bayern de Múnich, no? I jo he viscut les dues cares de la moneda, per sort i per desgràcia, no? Golejades a favor, golejades en contra. Bé, han sigut... Jo crec que el futbol és cíclic, no? I hi ha hagut èpoques molt bones del Barça, no tan bones d'ells, i al revés, no? Però bé, sí, només hem guanyat dos vegades. No tenia aquesta dada, el que sí sabia que no hem guanyat en aquest camp, no? El qual et diu la dificultat del repte que tenim demà, no? Però bé, crec que som capaços, crec que estem en un bon moment de forma, venim amb molta il·lusió i veurem demà.
The Spaniard has a fully fit squad for the game against Julian Nagelsmann's side and is expected to recall Jules Dond, Eric Garcia, Pedri, Ousmane Dembele and Lewandowski, who all started on the bench in Saturday's 4-0 win at Cadiz. Meanwhile, Liverpool hit the training pitch on Monday as they prepare to face Ajax Amsterdam in their second Champions League group match. The Reds were trounced by Napoli 4-1 in their first Champions match and are hoping to bounce back at Anfield early tomorrow. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp and crew will have their work cut out for them, with Ajax undefeated in all their league games and sitting top of the Eredivisie standings.
We have to show a reaction, definitely, we know that. That doesn't guarantee a result against Ajax. Ajax is actually, I would say, pretty much in the opposite situation, completely different. Won all their games so far this season, have again a rebuild, a really massive rebuild, but doing, no surprise, again a really good job.
Liverpool are also dealing with a string of injuries, with full-back Andy Robertson the latest on that list. That ends today's updates at noon. Wrapping up with a reminder of our top stories: 62 spots in Klang at risk of flooding. Tune in to News at 10, coming up at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM. Or you can stream the channel on YouTube or RTM Click's web portal and mobile app. And we'll leave you with some of Iraq's most remarkable architectural monuments that can be found in the Samarra archaeological city. Once the capital of the powerful Islamic Abbasid Caliphate, Samarra has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2007. I'm Renee Fong. Have a pleasant afternoon.